Hi, my name is Alessandra Dobrin-Kalsa. I was born in New York, but I grew up mostly in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. I work as a film editor, mostly through my company Film Nest Studios, which is based in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So as an editor, I work really closely with the directors and producers of a film. It really depends on the size of the film. Sometimes there are more producers, there's also a writer in the room, but my closest relationship is with the director. And my responsibility is to take everything from a film from the beginning of pre-production to talk with the cinematographer and also with the director to decide our workflow from the time that the cinematographer shoots all the way through the edit and into post-finishing. Post-finishing, which is color correction and also sound mix. So it's my responsibility to look after the footage, hire an assistant editor, work with that assistant editor to load the footage, organize the footage, and then I work very closely with the director to craft the story. And it depends on what kind of thing I'm editing. If I'm editing a music video, it's a different process than if I'm editing a feature documentary, which is much more involved. And in documentary, one of the things that is really lovely is that the editor really is, in essence, another writer, because you're really helping to craft the story. So that's one of my preferred areas to work in film. The thing that I love the most about being an editor is you're really creating these worlds. You're creating a suspended reality for your viewers to see. And a lot of that has to do with the story, obviously, but the pacing and the color and the essence that you pour into it. There's so many elements that you get to work with. It's so much fun. I love my job. It's so much fun. So at 4, I, for some reason, decided I wanted to be a filmmaker. I didn't really know what that entailed. I just had this feeling. And my mother, looking back, always told me, hey, what did you want to do when you were 4? Because that's probably what you should be doing, because it's the most pure age. So, but I didn't really understand how you got into film. For me, it just seemed like this kind of far out dream of you had to grow up in a family that knew people, or you had to somehow have contacts that you got to break you in. And I didn't realize that school was the pathway that was going to lead me there, and decided that that was really what I wanted to do, because film incorporated so many elements of what I already loved: music, writing, photography, set building, and just there was so much. So I applied for film schools, and I went to the School of Visual Arts in New York, which was a really great film program. It was a 4-year BFA. And film school is great because it gives you a place to be able to mess up and experiment when no one's paying you. And yes, you have to be in line for grades and things like that, but you're allowed to play and experiment. And then the deadlines that you have to meet with school help you to become someone who can meet deadlines in the film industry, which is one of the most important things, because in the film industry, time is money. So after film school, I graduated with a rich community of people my age who wanted to collaborate, but also of teachers. And so I got my first job from one of my teachers right after school, and that just snowballed. And I'm lucky enough to say that I worked in a coffee shop for 1 month after graduating, and after that have never had to have a non-related film job because of connections and people that helped me. I started out here kind of building context and figuring out who my people were, and I ended up building a production company with 2 other women, and we do everything from development through post-production. And it has really afforded me the ability to live life on my terms, where I work mostly from home if I'm not on set. And I get to have the life that I want to have while balancing having a family and being a working professional in the industry, which I think, for people who want to have kids, it's good to know that you can do it. You can have both. And it's important to have both so that your kids can see you doing something that, makes you thrive and that you enjoy. So the school that I was in was a top level academic school. I had 6 languages in 8th grade, and I had 8 other subjects, and it was very rigorous academically, and I had absolutely no art whatsoever. So that experience was very beneficial to me on one side and not so much in the other. The area that it was beneficial was I really learned how to push myself. I really learned how to make deadlines and work as hard as I could, and also organize my time correctly. But it left me with a lack of art and a lack of expression through any art at all. So I had to seek elsewhere for that. My mother is a painter and my father is a physicist. And so I had some of the technology side from my father, and my mother had an artistic expression. And I started to look for other kids in my community that were interested in films. I would say if you're interested in film at all, that the film industry is a really wonderful business to work in. There are so many different areas that you can work in film. I'm speaking to you as an editor, but I have to say that there are so many people that have a wonderful career that can really support their family doing a vast variety of things. And New Mexico is really set up for New Mexico crew here. So I would also look into crew if editing is not something that you are necessarily drawn to.